Chapter 2. First Encounters. New York City, 6 months earlier. The roar of 20,000 fans filled Madison Square Garden as C7 performed their final encore. Jake executed a perfect flip, landing in perfect sync with the beat drop. Sweat glistened on his forehead under the pulsing lights as he moved to the edge of the extended stage, connecting with the screaming crowd. That is when he saw her. In the third row, a young woman with long dark hair stood still amidst the jumping, waving ocean of fans. Unlike those around her, filming with phones or waving light sticks, she watched with an intensity that drew Jake's attention through thousands of screams. When their eyes met, she mouthed, "I love you." 7 days a week, fans and C7 were sending each other love verbally and symbolically, but something about her calm presence amid the chaos resonated with him. Almost without thinking, Jake broke the choreography to mouth back, "I love you too," and gave her a finger heart. Jake returned to his position, earning a quick look of suspicion from a Roman that he ignored. As they finished the final chorus, his eyes wandered back to her, but she was gone when the lights came up for their final bow. Later, in the privacy of their dressing room, John nudged Jake's shoulder. "What happened out there? You went off script." "Nothing," Jake muttered, scrolling through fan posts flooding social media. Videos of his interaction spread rapidly, with captions like, "Jake said I love you to a fan at MSG, and to the luckiest fan ever." "Didn't look like anything," Silas commented, not looking up from his phone. "Saucing alert?" "No," Jake said firmly. "Just someone different." Julian bent over, peering at Jake's screen. "Ooh, Jake's in love." "Shut up," Jake groaned, but could not help asking, "Manager Kando, is there any way to find a specific fan from tonight?" Manager Kando looked up from his clipboard, alarm spreading across his face. "Absolutely not. That is exactly how scandals start. I am just curious." "No," Manager Kando said firmly. "Forget whoever she was, and focus on tomorrow's interview schedule." Jake nodded obediently, but as they boarded their van for the hotel, he could not shake the image of the girl's calm eyes meeting his in a sea of chaos. Present day. "You want me to do what?" Manager Kando's voice rose an octave as he stared at Jake across the company conference room table. "Find her," Jake repeated calmly. "The fan from New York. The one I connected with had a poster that said, 'I love you.'" Manager Kando pinched the bridge of his nose. "It's been 6 months, Jake. Do you have any idea how many fans attended that concert?" 22,537, Jake said promptly. "But she was in section A3, row 3, approximately seat 14 to 16. "You remember her seat number?" Manager Kando looked disturbed. Jake shrugged. "I have a good memory. For choreography and lyrics, not fan seating arrangements." "Just check the ticket records," Jake persisted. "She had long black hair, about this tall," he indicated with his hand. "She was wearing a vintage C7 tour shirt with the black and gold logo from our first world tour." Manager Kando stared at him. "You cannot be serious." Director Blake said to pursue personal growth. Meeting her would be growth. Meeting a random fan from another country is not what he meant. Jake leaned forward earnestly. "She wasn't bouncing all over. She was still. Everyone else was jumping and screaming, but she was just present. And when I said 'I love you' back to her, she did not scream or faint. She just smiled. Like she saw me, not C7's Jake, just me." Manager Kando's expression softened slightly. "Jake, fans project what they want to see. It's an illusion of connection." "Maybe," Jake conceded. "But what if it wasn't? What if finding her is what this break is for? Even if, and this is an astronomical if, we could identify her from ticket records, what then? Have you stalked her social media? This isn't a drama, Jake. This is real life, with unpredictable consequences. Jake sat back, disappointed but not surprised. I understand. I signed up for it, after all. As he left the meeting room, his phone pinged with a notification. Opening the official C7 fan cafe, he scrolled through recent posts until he stumbled upon a familiar face. It was her, the girl from the concert, posing in front of the COEX Mall in Seoul. The caption read, "Finally. I'm thrilled to be teaching at the Seoul Arts Academy for their summer dance program. Dreams do come true. #dancerlife #soulbound." Her username, Tina_dances. Jake stared at the screen, heart racing. She was here. In Seoul. Teaching dance. He quickly took a screenshot of the post before it could disappear in the constant stream of fan updates. This was not just a coincidence, it felt like fate. The youngest, and the most shrinking violet off the stage, had left the break somewhere else, bound to discover what mystery the Madison Garden girl concealed. "I am enrolled in what?" John asked, peering over his reading glasses at the schedule on his tablet. "Advanced Korean cuisine with Chef Min-jun Park," Roman read from his tablet. "Our eldest member is serious about his culinary pursuits." The members gathered in the dorm living room to review their approved activities for the first week of their break. Manager Kando distributed personalized schedules, each carefully vetted for security and discretion. "It's at that new cooking academy in Gangnam," John explained, excitement in his voice. "The one with the rooftop garden where they grow their ingredients." "Very fancy," Julian nodded approvingly. "Will you cook for us when you become a master chef?" "If you're nice to me," John threatened playfully. "I'm starting my dance workshop series tomorrow," Julian announced, bouncing on his toes. "Teaching idol choreography to contemporary dancers. It should be fun." "I've got that composition seminar at Seoul National University," Silas muttered, looking less than thrilled about social interaction. "The Museum of Modern Art is hosting a special exhibition on philosophical influences in contemporary art," Roman shared. Two dimples stamped the excitement. "I'm attending a private viewing tomorrow." "And I," Vic said quietly as if his assignment was the least interesting, "have been invited to the Louis Vuitton afterparty as their brand ambassador." The others whistled, impressed by their prestigious activities. "What about you, Jake?" John asked, noticing the youngest's unusual silence. Jake looked up from his phone, where he had been staring at the screenshot of Tina's post. "Oh, I'm checking out a dance academy. For inspiration." "Dance inspiration from somewhere other than our practice room?" "Groundbreaking," Silas deadpanned. Before Jake could respond, the doorbell rang. John went to answer it, returning with Evan, James's identical twin brother. "Hey everyone," Evan greeted with a wave, much more subdued than his idol brother's typical entrance. "Evan." "Perfect timing," James exclaimed, throwing an arm around his twin's shoulders. "We discussed our plan to become ordinary humans during our break." "Good luck with that," Evan laughed. 25 years haven't been enough time for you." The doorbell rang again, and John returned with a delivery person holding several bags of food. "Order for James?" the delivery man asked, looking between James and Evan in confusion. "That's me," both twins said simultaneously, then looked at each other. Which one ordered the jjajangmyeon with extra onions?" the bewildered delivery man asked. "That would be me," Evan said, reaching for his wallet. "No way," the delivery man blurted, eyes widening. "You're James from C7. Evan opened his mouth to correct him, when James stepped forward smoothly. I'm James. That's my twin brother, Evan." The delivery man looked between them, clearly struggling to see any difference. "Whoa, that's crazy. You're an insane spitting image." After the delivery man left with a selfie and an autograph from the Mochi James, the brothers distributed the food bags. "That happens a lot," Roman asked, accepting his portion. "More than you'd think," Evan sighed. "Usually, I just go with it to avoid the hassle of explanation." "Must be weird having a famous doppelganger." Julian hopped through a mouthful of noodles. "Weird doesn't begin to cover it," Evan said dryly. "Try being mistaken for him when his fans are feeling particularly enthusiastic." James suddenly straightened, an idea visibly forming. "Wait. This is perfect." "What is?" Evan asked warily. You're my secret weapon for Operation Courtship." "I'm your what now?" Evan's tone made it clear he had no interest in James's plot. "You know how to date like a normal person," James explained, excitement building. "You can teach me." "I date like a normal person because I am normal," Evan pointed out reasonably. "Exactly. You can show me how it is done. What to say, how to act. I seem to be able to do it on stage, but not in life." "I'm not giving you dating lessons," Evan said, stepping back. "Even better," James continued as if Evan had not spoken. "We could switch places sometimes. You could go on the first date and smooth the way, then I take over once you've made a good impression." The other members watched this exchange with varying degrees of amusement and horror. "That," John said slowly, "is either the worst idea I've ever heard or an absolute genius." "Worst," Silas voted. "Genius," Julian countered. "Ethically questionable," Roman added. "Potentially entertaining," Vic observed. Jake just shook his head, still distracted by thoughts of finding Tina. "I am not pretending to be you on dates," Evan declared. "That's deceptive and weird." "Just one time?" James pleaded. "To help me get started. I'll do anything in return." "Anything?" Evan raised an eyebrow, suddenly interested. "Within reason. Take my kindergarten parent observation day next month. I always end up signing for too many charity projects." "Deal." James agreed instantly, clearly not thinking through what teaching kindergartners might entail. The twins shook hands, and the twin switch plan was officially born, for better or worse, almost certainly worse. The next morning, John stood in the gleaming kitchen of the Seoul Culinary Institute, nervously adjusting his crisp white apron. Around him, 11 other students prepared their stations with varying levels of confidence, glancing at John with curiosity. Most seemed to be serious home cooks or professionals in the food industry, rather than idols. Perfect, John thought. Exactly the normal experience he'd hoped for. "Welcome, everyone," a commanding voice called out from the front of the kitchen. Chef Epicure towered over the army of cooking gadgets, his chef's whites immaculate and crisp. "This advanced Korean cuisine course assumes you already know the basics. We begin today with royal court cuisine, specifically gujolpan." John nodded appreciatively. The traditional 9-section platter dish was complex and beautiful, a challenge worthy of the Momo Awards. "You'll work in pairs," Chef Epicure continued. "Find a partner." John looked around, welcoming anyone to approach him. Social interaction with strangers was his forte. He did not hesitate to approach people on the streets of Malta, in his accented English, to start conversations. Before he could move, a woman approached his station. "Partners?" she asked. John nodded gratefully. "Thank you. I'm John from C7, she finished for him, expression unchanged. "I know. I'm Saul." John braced himself for the usual flustered fan reaction, but Saul began organizing their station briskly. "You're not surprised to see me here?" John asked cautiously. "Should I be? Everyone eats food." She glanced at him. "Though I am curious about your interest in royal court cuisine." "Indeed." I am a food critic for Seoul Dining Monthly. She measured rice flour with precision. Your turn to sift. John obediently took the sieve, intrigued by her straightforwardness. Have you reviewed this cooking school? Not yet. Research. She nodded toward the flour. You're under-sifting. John corrected his technique. So you review restaurants? That sounds more amazing than selecting my dozen wardrobe pieces for my performances. It is a job. Saul moved to prepare the fillings. Your knife skills are decent. The miser praise from Saul was like an Olympic gold medal for John. I cook for the members sometimes, he explained. Nothing fancy. After our debut, before we were making big hits, our company was struggling, and I used my allowance to buy food and cook for my younger brothers. Less talking, more Julianing, Saul interrupted, though not unkindly. As they worked side by side, John's fascination mushroomed. Saul was methodical, precise, and immune to his usual handsomeness and charm. She did not smile when he attempted one of his signature dad jokes about radishes. Was that supposed to be humorous? She asked, puzzled. It was, never mind. John focused on the cucumber he was slicing. By the end of the 3-hour class, their Gujolpan presentation was the best in the room, earning a rare nod of approval from Chef Epicure. Your technique needs refinement, Saul told John as they cleaned their station, but your flavor combinations are unexpected. In a good way. Thank you, his cheeks turning red, flaring bombs. Would you? He hesitated, then remembered his dating pact. Would you like to get coffee sometime? To discuss food, I mean? Saul eyed him with the same careful assessment she had given their completed dish. No. John blinked, taken aback by the direct rejection. Coffee is terrible after tasting complex flavors, she explained. It ruins the palate. Tea would be acceptable. Tomorrow after class. With that, she wiped down their cutting board one final time and left, leaving John to realize he had just locked his first date, even if his date thought it was a culinary trip. The auction house hummed with tension as collectors and professionals examined the vintage music equipment on display. Silas moved scrupulously through the preview area, jotting down notes on his tablet about pieces that caught his interest. A rare Roland TR-808 drum machine caught his eye, the same model used on C7's debut album. He was examining it when he sensed someone beside him. Thinking of upgrading from digital? A woman asked, her tone faintly challenging. Silas looked up to find a stylishly disheveled woman, about his age, studying him with narrowed eyes. She wore oversized headphones around her neck, and had multiple earrings in her left ear. Collecting, not upgrading, he replied shortly, returning to his examination. Ah, display pieces rather than working tools, she nodded, her tone making it clear this was not a compliment. Silas bristled. I use everything I collect. Really? So if you win, will it go into actual production? Not sitting pretty in some ivory tower studio? He straightened to his full height, irritation growing. My production methods aren't your business. She smiled, not pleasantly. They are when we're bidding on the same equipment. Recognition dawned. You're Meyer, the indie producer. And you're Silas from C7, the mainstream producer. The way she said mainstream made it sound like a contagious disease. Your EP last year was interesting, Silas complimented. Interesting, Meyer repeated. That's what people say when they have nothing substantive to contribute. The percussion was innovative, Silas clarified, but the melodic structure was derived from early 2000s trip-hop, just slowed down to seem original. Meyer's eyes widened slightly, clearly not expecting actual criticism. At least it wasn't manufactured by committee like your last album. Our last album sold 10 million copies. Congratulations. McDonald's sells billions of burgers. Doesn't make them haute cuisine. Before Silas could respond, the auctioneer called for everyone to take their seats. Somehow, he and Meyer ended up in the second row beside each other. The bidding proceeded tensely, with Silas securing several vintage synthesizers, while Meyer won a collection of rare vinyl for sampling. Their real conflict came when the Roland TR-808 took the block. Silas opened with a strong bid. Meyer immediately countered. They traded back and forth, each bid increasing the tension between them. Other potential buyers dropped out, leaving the two producers locked in combat. $2,000,000, Silas offered, exceeding his mental limit. $2.5, Meyer countered without hesitation. Silas gritted his teeth. The rational part of his brain knew he should stop, but something about Meyer's challenging gaze pushed him forward. $3 million. Meyer hesitated for the first time, and Silas felt a surge of victory, until she leaned over to whisper, "You know what? Please take it. I'm sure C7's unlimited budget can accommodate your ego purchase." She stood and walked out, leaving Silas with a drum machine he had paid too much for, and the uncomfortable feeling that he had somehow both won and lost simultaneously. After the auction, he found Meyer arguing with someone on her phone in the lobby. "No, the budget isn't flexible. That's why it's called a budget," she said heatedly. "Just because some corporate idol group can outbid us doesn't mean." She noticed Silas and abruptly ended her call. "Enjoy your overpriced toy," she said, turning to leave. "Wait." Silas was surprised at himself by the word. "Why was that specific model so important to you?" Meyer hesitated, then sighed. "I'm producing an album for an underground hip-hop artist. He specifically wanted that vintage sound. It's his debut, and he's saved for years to make this album happen." Silas felt a twinge of guilt. "Would you consider sharing studio time with it?" Meyer looked at him suspiciously. "What's the catch?" "No catch. My studio, your project. You get the sound you need for your artist." "And what do you get?" Silas considered this. "Your perspective. On my new compositions." "You want me to critique your music?" Meyer looked astonished. "You do have opinions," Silas said dryly. "Might as well make them useful." A reluctant smile tugged at Meyer's lips. "You're either very confident or foolish." "Possibly both," Silas admitted. "Do we have a deal?" After a moment's consideration, Meyer nodded. "Deal. But I won't lie about your music if I hate it." "I'd expect nothing less," Silas replied, surprised to find he was looking forward to her unfiltered opinion. The dance studio pulsed with energy as Julian demonstrated a complex sequence from C7's latest choreography. 20 dancers of various backgrounds followed his movements, most of whom struggled with the precision required for idol dance. "Remember, this style combines hip-hop foundation with martial arts influences," Julian explained, demonstrating a particular transition. "It's not just about the moves, the attitude." Julian moved through the room as the dancers practiced, dropping corrections and encouragement. At the back of the studio, a purple-haired woman caught his attention, not because she was struggling, but because she was adding her unique flourishes to his choreography. Intrigued rather than offended, Julian worked his way toward her. Up close, he could see the playful concentration on her face as she deliberately modified his sequence. "That's not quite what I demonstrated," Julian noted, curious. The woman grinned, unapologetically. "I know. I'm improving it." Several nearby dancers looked horrified, but Julian burst out laughing. "Bold statement. Show me how." She demonstrated her version, without hesitation. Julian's dance composition made her more fluid, and she added a turn that complemented the original choreography. See? Your version is all power and precision, she explained. Which is great. But adding this flow here, she demonstrated again, creates more visual interest for the audience. Julian tried her modification and discovered she was right. It enhanced the sequence. I'm Hope, she introduced herself, offering a hand. Julian, he replied, shaking it, beaming his cheerful smile. I know, she laughed. I didn't come to this workshop by accident. So, you came to critique my choreography? Julian raised an eyebrow, surprised. I came to learn from it, Hope corrected. Doesn't mean it can't be better. Rather than being offended, Julian found her honesty refreshing. Want to help me demonstrate the next sequence? Show these serious dancers how to have fun with it? Hope's face lit up. Thought you'd never ask. For the remainder of the workshop, Julian and Hope developed a rapport, playing off each other's energy and creating a vibrant atmosphere that transformed the class from a technical practice to a joyful expression. During a water break, Julian noticed Hope imitating his signature heart gesture with exaggerated movements, which made the nearby dancers laugh. Are you mocking my fan service? He asked, pretending offense. Studying it, she corrected with a grin. Very scientific. And your conclusion, Professor Park? Hope struck a serious pose. Too much cuteness, not enough funk. Julian gasped dramatically. My cuteness is legendary. Your charm is what my grandmother does to get extra kimchi at restaurants. Instead of being insulted, Julian laughed harder than he had in months. There was something liberating about being teased rather than idolized. As the workshop concluded, participants lined up for selfies with Julian. Hope hung back, gathering her things without joining the queue. When the last fan had left, Julian approached her. No selfie request. Nope, Hope replied, zipping up her dance bag. I prefer memories to photos. So, what's your assessment of idol choreography? Julian asked, genuinely curious about her opinion. Technically impressive, creatively restrictive, she answered honestly. But you managed to bring joy to it, which is rare. Joy is my specialty, Julian said with his signature bright smile. And silliness is mine, Hope countered. Together, we'd be unstoppable. The words hung between them, an unintentional invitation that neither had expected. There's a dance battle at Club Rhythm tomorrow night, Hope said suddenly. Underground stuff, no idol polish. Want to see how the other half lives? Julian hesitated. A club was what the public venue manager, Kando, had warned against. But experiencing dance outside the carefully controlled idol world was too tempting to resist. I'd have to come incognito, he said. Hope grinned. I've got just the thing. She reached into her bag and pulled out a beanie and a pair of fake glasses. Emergency disguise kit. Never leave home without it. Julian took the items, oddly touched by this glimpse into her whimsical personality. You always carry disguises? You never know when you'll need to become someone else for a while, she said with a wink. Sometimes it's nice to escape yourself, don't you think? Julian felt a connection with her words. Behind his cheerful exterior, he sometimes also yearned for freedom, without the pressure of always being positive. Tomorrow night, he agreed, tucking the disguise into his bag. Show me your world. Roman wandered through the MMCA, absorbing each installation with perceptive curiosity. The private viewing was sparsely attended, allowing him to immerse himself in the exhibition without worry of recognition. He stood before a striking installation, a sculpture made of twisted metal and floating fabric that seemed to defy the laws of physics. The artist's statement also referenced quantum mechanics and parallel universes, which Roman disagreed with on several technical points. The artist is completely misinterpreting Schrödinger, he muttered to himself. I thought the same thing, came a voice beside him. The quantum metaphor falls apart under any actual scientific scrutiny. Roman turned to notice a woman with short black hair and perceptive eyes studying the same installation with a critical expression. Right, Roman agreed, surprised and thrilled to find someone equally analytical. It's philosophically interesting, but scientifically unsound. The visual representation is compelling, though, she offered. Art doesn't have to be scientifically accurate to evoke the feeling of quantum uncertainty. Roman weighed her words. True. I suppose I am being overly literal. Not at all, she assured. I had the same thought. I'm Ellie, by the way, one of the curators. Roman, he introduced himself, waiting for the accustomed recognition. Ellie nodded and returned her gaze to the installation. What do you think of the use of negative space here? Roman blinked, momentarily thrown off by her lack of reaction to his identity. Either she did not recognize him, or she was discreet. They moved through the exhibition together, engaging in a relaxed conversation that ranged from art theory and philosophy to the practical challenges of preserving contemporary installations. Most people don't realize how much science is involved in art conservation, Ellie explained as they examined together a light-based piece. Chemistry, physics, materials science, it's all crucial. The intersection of disciplines is where the most interesting formations happen, Roman derived. As they rounded a corner into a new gallery section, Roman realized they had wandered into a completely different exhibition from the one he had come to see. I think I am lost, he acknowledged. Ellie laughed. You've been following me through my curatorial rounds for the past hour. I was wondering when you would notice. Roman flushed, embarrassed. I am so sorry. I got caught up in our conversation. Don't apologize. It's refreshing to discuss the artifacts with a unique perspective and an ardent interest. Most people nod and say interesting, as if they were commenting on a joke they didn't find funny. I wish I did not have opinions about everything, Roman apologized. It's both a blessing and a curse. In my line of work, informed opinions are valuable, Ellie said, checking her watch. I need to finish my rounds, but the cafe here makes excellent tea. Would you like to continue our discussion afterward? Roman staggered by her straightforward invitation, and how badly he wanted to accept. I would enjoy that very much. Fantastic. Meet you there in 30 minutes? He'd made his first connection with someone outside the idol world in years, and she hadn't once mentioned C7 or asked for a selfie. It was, he decided, an auspicious start to his break. The exclusive after-party for Louis Vuitton's latest show buzzed with energy. As a brand ambassador, Vic absorbed each runway's new design, seeking quiet corners afterward. These events always drained him. Too many people wore masks of sophistication, and there were too few lasting connections. He sipped his sparkling water and observed, counting the minutes until he could respectfully exit. He spotted a tall, graceful woman in a classic ivory dress, slipping out of a side door onto the venue's balcony. Something about her purposeful escape struck a chord with Vic, and before he could think twice, he followed her. The night air brought welcome relief from the stifling atmosphere of the party. Vic hesitated, not wanting to disturb whoever had also found refuge, when he heard a faint cry. The woman was at the balcony's edge, her back to him, shoulders trembling slightly with suppressed sobs. Vic hesitated. Social etiquette required him to either step back to give her privacy or try to comfort someone in distress. The first choice felt cold, the second seemed too intrusive. He cleared his throat softly. Excuse me. I can leave if you prefer to be alone. The woman turned around quickly, wiping tears from her face. Vic recognized her immediately. Sarah, whose dazzling smile lit up the most famous billboard. Now that calm composure was gone, as she struggled to compose herself. "I am sorry," she said, voice steady despite her tears. "I didn't realize anyone was here." "I just arrived," Vic assured her. "I would leave if you'd prefer solitude, but I will gladly listen if you want to talk about anything." "It is not my balcony," she interrupted, straightening her shoulders. "No need to leave on my account." They stood in awkward silence for a moment, before Vic spoke again. "The stars are particularly expressive tonight," he broke the silence, gazing dreamily upward. Sarah followed his gaze, confusion evident. "Expressive?" "They are telling stories," Vic rhymed. "Sometimes they whisper, sometimes they shout. Tonight, they're somewhere in between." Sarah looked at him with renewed interest. "You're Vic? From C7. He nodded, expecting the usual fashion industry questions about his brand partnerships. Instead she asked, "What are the stars saying to you?" The question caught him off guard, as most people usually dismiss his metaphorical speech instead of engaging with him. "They're saying that sadness has its beauty," he answered solemnly. "Some things need to break so light can emerge from within." Fresh tears welled in Sarah's eyes, but she didn't look away. "My dog died yesterday." "My Pomeranian, honey?" The simple statement carried such raw grief that Vic felt his eyes sting. "I'm so sorry." "It's stupid to cry over a dog at a fashion event," Sarah said, trying to laugh, but it came out more like a hiccup. "It's never stupid to mourn love," Vic replied quietly, reaching for his phone. He scanned his photos and found what he was looking for, turning the screen toward her. "This was Yontan," he said, showing her a picture of a small black Pomeranian. "He passed last year." Sarah's eyes widened in recognition of his loss, not his pet. "How did you move forward?" "I didn't for a while," Vic admitted. "Then I realized Tan wouldn't want his memory to cause pain. He lived for joy, chasing butterflies, stealing socks, barking at his reflection, even going on stage with me pretending he was a pop star. Remembering his happiness eventually helped more than mourning his absence." Sarah nodded slowly, tears streaming down her face. "Honey used to dance when I came home. Every single time, no matter if I'd been gone 10 minutes or 10 days. A soul's greeting," Vic nodded. "The purest form of love." "Unconditional love," Sarah whispered, her gaze filled with benevolence. "Only we would understand it." They stood in quiet mutual silence, two people united at an event based on shallow impressions. "Would you like to see more pictures of honey?" Sarah shared, offering her phone. "I have thousands. My friends are tired of seeing them." As they scrolled through photos and shared stories of their beloved pets, a bond rooted in mutual grief brought them closer. When they eventually returned to the party, they moved as discreet allies through the sea of superficial conversations, occasionally exchanging glances if someone uttered something particularly vapid about the transformative power of accessorizing. As the event ended, Sarah handed Vic a business card. "I'm working on a project for a charity foundation for rescue animals. If you'd be interested in hearing more." Vic accepted the card, recognizing the gesture as an invitation to connect beyond this single evening. "The stars would approve," he said with a secret smile. "I'm beginning to understand your language, Vic." "Few people make the effort," he admitted. "Their loss," Sarah replied, before disappearing into the crowd of departing guests. Vic carefully tucked her card into his jacket pocket, serving as a small reminder that genuine connections can sometimes develop in the most unexpected situations. Later that night, the members gathered back at the C7 dorm to share their experiences. John reported that he partnered with the unsmiling food critic in his cooking class. Silas recounted his grudging equipment-sharing arrangement with the indie producer. Julian enthusiastically described his dance workshop and invitation to an underground club. Roman shared his philosophical conversation from the museum with the curator. Vic quietly mentioned meeting someone who understood his metaphorical speech patterns. Only Jake remained vague about his plans, simply stating he would be observing dance styles at a local academy the next day. James chit-chatted with his twin brother in the kitchen as the members prepared for bed. So James began, about this twin switch dating strategy. Evan sighed deeply. I'm already regretting this. Just hear me out. You're good at first impressions, all that kindergarten teacher patience. You could lay the groundwork, then I take over once you've established a connection. That is deceptive and weird, Evan pointed out again. Or it's like having a dating coach who happens to share my DNA, James argued. You'd just be helping me put my best foot forward. Your best foot should be yours, not my foot pretending to be yours. That metaphor got away from you, James observed. Evan ran a hand through his hair, the same as James's though styled by himself. Look, I will help you learn how to talk to women. I will give you advice. I will even let you practice conversations with me. But I am not impersonating you on dates. Fine, James conceded, then brightened. But you'll still teach me how people date? People don't need their identical twins to teach them how to date, Evan muttered.